Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this.
But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on Podcast, the Sutton Podcast. I'm delighted to say that joining me once again as a guest today is back from his trip to Crewe, where he planned ahead, unlike lots of people, stayed overnight and had a relatively easy journey home today. It's Mark Bravery. Hi Mark, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
Good. So you predicted all the travel chaos and you decided that you're going to have a nice relaxing trip down today, the next day. Or did you have other plans?
Yeah, well, one of the benefits of being retired, of course, is you've got more time to play with. So, if you've got a Tuesday night game some distance away from London, you nearly always stay over.
Yeah.
And it's much more relaxing doing it that way.
Absolutely. So, yesterday's game, obviously disappointing. I was actually very concerned when I watched Matt's interview earlier. He just sounded very, very flat and very down. Which he doesn't normally. He's normally quite upbeat with something. But clearly there's frustrations there. I mean, when the lineup was announced, what were your thoughts going into the game? I was actually quite relatively confident after speaking to some Crewe fans. I was like, oh, we should still do this.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite similar to the lineup from Saturday, but of course Omar was about injured, so Kwame Thomas came into the starting lineup, and we're still missing Will Randall as well as obviously Ben Goodliffe, who's out long term, and Kobe. So a few important players missing there, but all clubs have got to cope with injuries. The injury list isn't as massive as one or two of the lists we had last season. So, we thought we ought to be able to cope. I just think we were missing a bit of a spark up front. We seemed to lack a bit of creativity. We defended quite well for the most part. Midfield was okay. But I think a little bit light up front. I think we badly missed Omar last night because he's a bit of an unpredictable player. It's sometimes hard to see what he's going to do, and that obviously gives opposition defences problems. Whereas without wishing to be critical at all, I think Kwame and Donovan are both a bit more predictable in the way they play, and therefore probably a bit easier for defences to handle. I think Donovan, we know to see him at his best, we need to get the ball to him at his feet in space, and he just wasn't getting that much last night. There was one occasion, end of the first half, where he did kind of wriggle through and got a shot away, which the keeper dealt with not terribly effectively. Harry picked up the loose ball and hit the top of the bar. But apart from that, Donovan didn't have much of a sniff of goal. And Kwame, we've got to bear in mind, he hasn't had much experience at this level. He was kind of brought in to replace Omar, brought in as a sort of target man, and didn't have a lot of joy winning the high balls against their defence, and was taken off after just over an hour. Yeah,
I think the change probably was planned because Matt likes to do it around the 60-70 minute mark anyway. But there were just not necessarily going forward, because I'm not sure if this is the first time they've played together. Well, definitely in the league match it will be the first time they've played together. But it was just the closing down that Omar does. It's noticeable when he's not there how much pressing and defending is from the front, and when he's not there, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, he does an awful lot more work than we realise. We obviously appreciate the work he does, but it's just a little bit that he was missing. It's not to be critical. It's the first time those two have sort of been a partnership together. But I think you're right. I think how Donovan was playing in that run into the title is slightly different to how we're asking him to play now, and I think we're not getting the best of him at the moment. But lots of people are saying, "Oh, we need a poacher, we need a striker who can score loads of goals." Donovan can score loads of goals, but we just maybe need to have a little tweak on how we're serving him. But their goal was actually a good goal. For all the huffing and puffing in the game. The game itself, I don't think will ever go down as a classic. But their goal was actually a good goal, and it's one of those that you just have to go, yeah, okay. I mean, there are talk where some people are saying, well, this person could have cut it and that person could have stopped it, but every goal can be stopped at some point. But we had loads and loads of chances. In this whole idea of a great striker who's sitting around waiting for Sutton United's call so they can come in and score 30 goals in a season for us, it's not going to happen. And even if it does, most of the chances didn't fall to our strikers. I think Harry had 2, maybe 3 reasonable chances.
Certainly 2. There was one quite early where he had the ball in space and kind of sliced wide. And then there was the one towards the end of the first half that I've just mentioned where he hit the bar.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, most of our chances fell either to Harry or to one of the defenders. I mean, Joe Kizzy had a good shot on goal quite late on in the game, and that drew a good save from their keeper. Louis John headed just over. I think it was from a corner in the first half.
Yeah.
Bob Milson's delivery is obviously very important for us. He had a bit of a mixed bag last night. 1 or 2 of his free kicks didn't quite come off, but a couple of others caused their defence quite a lot of problems, and one I think, almost led to a goal.
Yeah, I think their keeper actually made a really good save. Was it one of Rob's free kicks? But nonetheless, we didn't do enough to get the draw. Although when the 2 young uns, we're allowed to say that, came on and ran around up front, they did cause all sorts of problems because obviously they're playing a little bit without sort of any fear and just running around. I thought Killian's penalty shout was quite soft. I thought Donovan had a fairly good shout earlier in the match, and I think he was sandwiched between 2 players. I spoke to Paul, and he said I think the pictures show that he's been pulled back by both of them, let alone one of them. But yeah, it's just one of those frustrating games. Even to the point of Luke came on quite late on, and he had quite a good chance for a free kick. Obviously, he's good at a dead ball. I'm not sure if he was playing for this, hitting it off the knee to try and do a little 1-2 off the wall. It seemed ambitious. What was the thoughts in the stadium then?
I do remember that opportunity. I mean, I think Matt made that triple substitution on 80 minutes, and that did change the game. I mean, suddenly we had all these new players on the pitch, plenty of energy, and you could sense that Crewe was starting to buckle. They're only 1-0 up, of course. They were starting to run the clock down. Their keeper was time wasting. He was booked. They were taking the ball to the corner flag. And when we did have the ball and attacked them, they did just about manage to defend, but they were looking a bit nervous. And I kind of thought if the game had gone on for another 10 minutes, I think we would have scored. But we just left that late burst of energy, a bit too late, perhaps.
A bit too late,
which ran out of time in the end.
Yeah, and I mean their keeper was at least in one place man of the match. He made team of the week as well, I think, or team of the day. Which again, I don't want to read too much into that now because our keeper Jack was in the team of the week when we played against Barrow, and I was like, I don't actually remember him doing an awful lot, but we think it might be the assist that he got for the goal.
Okay, he did make one very good save in that game. Didn't he? It's a fierce long range shot. He tipped, I think, onto the post, and he was cleared. But he didn't make a string of great saves in that game. Didn't need to.
No, absolutely. But he seemed to have settled a bit more now. There was
Yeah,
some
yeah.
criticism of various. Basically, he wasn't Dino in the first couple of games, but he seems to definitely have settled down a little bit, which we always knew it would take a few games.
Yeah, I've no concerns about Jack Rose. He's very solid. He's not the character that Dino is. He doesn't go charging out of his area. He's not going to dribble the ball into the opposition half as Dino did at Stevenage. But he's perhaps less of a maverick, and that perhaps a bit less prone to positional errors than Dean. So he has strengths that Dean didn't, and he's a different sort of keeper. But I've no great concerns about him at all, and I trust Matt's judgment in that area of recruitment.
Yeah, absolutely. And my current favourite, Josh. He played again the full game. How was he seemed to have a lot of the ball yesterday.
Yeah, I mean he's obviously a player who's still adapting to this level of football, but he's shown quite a lot of promise, and I think he will improve through the season. There were a couple of occasions last night where he beat the last defender, got the ball to the edge of the area, but then there weren't too many options on, and the ball was played too close to their keeper, who made two routine saves, easy saves. But I think if he keeps at it, eventually the chance will come, and he'll get a goal or at least an assist.
Yeah,
I think plenty of promise there.
I think something in his favour is he can play on either wing or through the middle as well.
Yeah,
so he's definitely someone. Maybe it's a bit early in the season for him, but imagine him coming on and running on tired legs would terrify anyone. But it's always difficult after a defeat because we're always down and a bit. But who would you? I've got a few names to chuck in, but who do you feel are your player of the day? A couple of nominations.
Right. Yeah, I had a quick chat with Andy Kay about this, and we both agreed that the standout player last night, and indeed of the season so far, has been Rob Milsom.
Yeah.
He just looks a cut above everybody else at the moment. Very reliable, very solid on the ball, but gets forward well, can provide assists, and of course we've already mentioned his free kicks. Didn't get them all right last night, but a couple of them caused real problems for the home defence. And he also got back to make one great blocking tackle as well, which could have led to a goal had he not done that. So his all-round play was very good, and he would certainly be my pick for man of the match for last night, and indeed of the season so far. If we're talking about other names, I mean, we've mentioned Josh. You could throw his name in. I thought Joe Kizzy and Louis John had pretty good games at centre back. Joe bought that save from their keeper right towards the end, about 75 minutes, I think. It was a good goal attempt. We know Joe can get forward and score from set pieces and such like. So those are two other names you might want to throw in.
Perfect. So what we'll do is, because three of those names were the same three names that I'd put down anyway.
Okay, so that's good to hear.
So Joe, Josh, and Rob. I think Rob is doing. Obviously, he was with us last year and he was great anyway. But he's doing what Eastie seemed to do last year, and just suddenly be like, okay, now I'm doing a little bit of a step up. Maybe that's the signing of Mr. Hart. Coming in and feeling like his shirt's under a bit of pressure, so he feels he has to. But we will have joining us in a little while, gentlemen, Alex from Grimsby podcast. But what are your own thoughts ahead of the Grimsby match at the weekend? It's another away match, another team that we certainly haven't played very often.
I mean, I have to confess I don't know a great deal about Grimsby. I've seen them play once before, but that was several seasons ago. I know they had a player with them last season. I think his name was McAtee. I can't recall his first name. But I know he got a lot of goals for them. But I think he's now left. I think he might have only been on loan, and I think he's gone to Luton. So he's one player we won't, I think, need to face this weekend. But I think he scored a lot of important goals for Grimsby last season. And of course, they had that fantastic run of playoff wins to get back up into League Two, where they think they won 3 successive games away, didn't they, including at Wrexham. So was it 5-4 or something they won there? So they're on a bit of a roll at the moment.
Well, we'll find out some of those details in a sec, because Alex from the DN35 Oddcast or podcast, I'm not 100% sure which way around it is just going to join us now. Hello, Alex.
Evening, gents. Can you hear me?
I can indeed hear you. Yeah.
So I have no idea which one of this is coming out of. So
whatever one it is, it's working. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself and your podcast. And what is it? Is it Oddcast or podcast?
Is it a what? Oh, no, I'm gone.
Podcast.
There is no place for jokes like that. Place spelt Plaice. Yeah, I don't know. Are there jokes for Sutton? Is it just
it was
phone shop references? Is it?
Yeah.
Is that about it?
No, it was just on your Twitter. It's got the DN35 and then in brackets P and then Oddcast.
Promoted. P for promoted.
I didn't get that. I got it now.
We've just got to change it to C some point for champions, but maybe not this year.
Yeah,
that was it. We should probably change that now. But yeah, I think we all kind of enjoyed it for a while. I think the club's still got it up as well.
Yeah. So, how long have you been doing the podcast?
Oh, we've been doing it for sort of 6-7 years. We've been doing it for quite a while now. It was just me and my friend Henry. We both live down south, so. It was a way of being able to chat with one another. We basically sat across from one another, never knew each other before town games, and we endured what we thought was the worst ever season, sort of 24 games without a win at one point. So thanks to old drunk Mike Newell for helping us out in that one. Spent more time in the bar than he did on the training pitch. Yeah, it meant that we went down, but it was a hell of a lot of fun. It was at one point, when it just goes into pure chaos. And everybody's rebelling, and all the fans are just, it's gone past gallows humour, and everyone's just taking the mick out of absolutely everything. It was probably one of my more enjoyable seasons following town. Just you knew what was going to happen, but yeah, it was. We came off the back of that, and it's sort of we actually now are slightly professional and have a schedule instead of saying we'll be back next week, and then 6 months later we'll rock up again.
So, you guys did the very rare drop down to the National League and back again.
Yeah, we don't know how we did that. It was the right laugh. And it's interesting because obviously we went into it fully aware of what we were this time around anyway, fully aware of what we were getting into, and sort of waiting for it. And it was nice to see Oldham got National League. Vanarama yesterday losing to Wealdstone.
Yeah.
And we fully embraced it. The second we went back down, we knew what we were getting into. And sort of, I still hate Andy Woodman with a passion. I can't wait till he has a coronary because he's got a BMI higher than the points total he got last year. I was happy to throw myself well into it straight away and go, yeah, we lose to Wealdstone. It'll be funny. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so it was useful, and so we just expected to be down there for a few seasons. It was like, even from when you guys were there now, the money is ridiculous, isn't it? Like Stockport and Wrexham were going for it. Chesterfield have decided that having no money isn't a problem; they'll just spend it anyway. Yeah. And putting $250,000 down for Tishmanga. So yeah, it was. I don't know how we snuck in, and then we just. It was weird because we hadn't done that sort of playoff campaign of sort of 3 games, and then they were all away from home if you count West Ham, and yeah, it was just chaos. It was pure. It felt like a mini World Cup, like a really bad mini World Cup for everyone else. And we just found out no one had had chance to work out that one of our players could throw the ball really far, and hadn't worked out how to sort of judge it. So we kind of had the right time frame for him to go, actually, if we defend this, we'll be all right. But they didn't. So we're back here and I can actually watch the games again instead of having to listen to local radio.
So this season so far, what were your expectations? And I know it's only a few games in, it's one less for you, but what were you hoping for and how's it going so far? Well, we've just lost. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'd knocked this, and I think it muted it automatically. it's weird because I think the town fans are pretty sort of savvy in where we should be. We do have aspirations to play higher, and we do have that sort of, but we try and hide that idea of like, oh, we used to be a championship club, don't you know? Because that's a long time ago now. But we do have aspirations to be that high. We've sold the most season tickets we've sold in living memory. So we sold around 6,000 season tickets this season. And so people are expecting stuff. And we expect to keep going. I always think League Two is actually slightly easier than the National League to get out of. I don't know if it's true anymore. You guys would probably be able to say so, because it was always a good adage that if you got out of the National League, you'd stood yourself in good chance to do well in League Two. But I'm not sure, you guys aside, I don't know if that's the same sort of adage now. Look at Harrogate, look at Barrow. Those teams of Macclesfield, those teams struggled when they came back up. So
yeah, I think Harrogate might have struggled because they went up and then they had the COVID behind closed doors. They didn't have that everyone with them and
that's a good point.
We still don't really know what's going on. I think we'll still be another 5 or 6 years going, yeah, we're non-league, but we just happen to be in the league.
yeah, absolutely. I do like to take I'm glad that, it'd be interesting to get you guys' thoughts. I like that there isn't the 3G pitch thing, and I know you and Harrogate had to go through it because it does seem just an added level of professionalism to the league. I can understand the reasons for it, but I don't know.
I loved it. A lot of the criticism on the 3G pitches, and I'm sure Mark will agree with me, is they're terrible for the players and we get loads and loads of injuries. We've had more injuries in the last season and a bit than we had in 5 years on the 3G pitch. For us, one of my proudest things is when we had to take the pitch up, there was a lot of worry from Sutton fans. And it took a little while for everyone to understand the worry wasn't about the first team, because the first team are always going to have a pitch. We've got a big community team. We've got the women's team. We've got the academies, and they all used to play on the pitch. So it was a huge, huge thing and part of our sort of identity, where so many people played on the pitch. Because all the little kids running around, that's Sutton United's pitch. That's our supporters in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
We loved it. At first, we weren't sure. There was a lot of us that weren't sure. I can't remember which camp you were in, Mark, but I think we mostly turned the corner, didn't we? We were all fans by the end.
Yeah, I think we were persuaded. I think that our manager at the time, Paul Doswell, was clearly an enthusiast and an advocate for 3G pitches, and the fact that you could play on them in any weather. You didn't get games called off because of waterlogged pitches or frost, but very often if at all. And obviously the community aspect, Mike, that you've just described. And I think a lot of the fans just bought into it because the manager and the people around him were so enthusiastic about it.
Yeah,
I think there was also a kind of, everybody's against us, and so many other fans and clubs seem to be against 3G. It was almost a kind of, right, we're going to prove you wrong. They dug in defensively and marshalled all the arguments in favour of 3G.
It was the first thing mentioned every time anyone ever lost on the pitch. It was like, of course, it's the magic pitch.
I think we've only used. Who would have had a 3G pitch last season? Just Bromley. So we went to Bromley in October last year, and it rained like it did today. So it was cataclysmic, and there was definitely an advantage. Our players were playing like Bambi on ice. It was like Mark Fowler from, Dancing on Ice. One of our left wingers went for it and he kept running and he couldn't stop, sort of thing. And they just knew that they just had to shoot and it'd be all right. I think that probably didn't help. But it is nice to, if you lose, you can have a jibe going, come on, lads, you got to get off. The Beavers have got this pitch booked at 10.
Yes. So, torrential rain.
Yes.
We're in the middle of a drought. There's hosepipe bans going on everywhere. And your game was called off for waterlogged pitch.
Yeah, it was just biblical rain. It was just, the ground is dry as out. So it doesn't help. It also doesn't help. It was high tide yesterday for us, like a real high tide, because the ground is next to the is next to the sea, that actually affects the water table under the pitch as well.
Right.
Yeah, it just couldn't seep in anywhere, and they did stop for sort of 10-15 minutes to try and get the water off, but it was coming down as quick as they could get it off. And it did have a wonder. There was one tackle. Please come to our go check our Twitter feed out, because Anthony Glennon made a tackle which was so wonderful. He slid in from about 45 yards out and he sort of ended up in the away stand, water everywhere. It was beautiful, and they nearly scored a ridiculous own goal. It was a lot of fun, but I think my heart goes out for Carlisle fans who sort of made that trip. It's not an easy one, is it?
No.
And but at least they get to come to Cleethorpes twice, the lucky so-and-so. So,
yeah, another midweek trip.
Yeah,
I'm sure they can't wait.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm sure it'll be in November, so it'll be fine. They'll love it. But yeah, it was a bit of a funny one, but it needed to be done. Hilarious.
Yeah. So on our trip, which is going to be Saturday, I mean, I haven't checked your weather reports. Are we expecting more rain, or are we? Do you think we're good to go?
Seeing the pictures I've seen out of London today, I'm more worried about you guys getting out, because Hendon's flooded and everything. So I don't know.
Miles away. Don't worry about. Yeah, that's miles away.
It's you got to go through it to get there, haven't you? But yeah, it'll be all right, and it'll be a cracking day. You're lucky because it'll be in the summer, so you've got no better place to come. Beach is an actual beach, unlike what you Southerners call a beach, which is basically just a gravel yard. It doesn't look like Dewson's. It's a proper beach with sand, and you get decent fish and chips. None of this cod muck that you lot eat. So you'll love it. Absolutely love it.
Good.
It'll be beautiful.
And on while we're doing the food, where's the good place for us to drink? Mark's gonna have some plans himself, but
so to drink, you'll probably end up going into Cleethorpes. So there's enough. It's just it's Skeggy, it's Brighton, it's Bognor. So you'll be absolutely fine. It'll be there's the Tivoli Town's in Grimsby. There's a decent local brewery on the way into town called Doc's Beers, which is perfect. In Cleethorpes, there's a place called Message in a Bottle, which does lots of niche breweries and craft beers, which is great. There's a Spoons, and then there's enough bars around. There's like 0 degrees north and stuff, which are brilliant. And you can sort of walk, if it's nice enough, you can walk from the seafront down the seafront up to the ground. So you'll love it. And get a Steele's or any Beckett's for fish and chips, and you'll be absolutely perfect. You'll love it. Lovely. It's a proper old ground, proper roof on it as well.
Oh, good.
You'll make a fair bit of noise.
Good. And Mark, where are you headed? I know you.
I've been to Cleethorpes once before. There's a little micro pub at Cleethorpes Station. It's called something like the number 1 refreshment room.
Yeah, number 1 signal box.
Opens really early. It's either 10 or 11. There's another, I think, owned by the same people. There's another one pub nearby overlooking the station as well. Sort of sister pub of that one, which is a bigger one. There's also a brew pub a bit further away called Willie's, which I've been to, and they brew their own beer there. And as Alex says, there are other places as well. So plenty of opportunities in Cleethorpes, and only a short walk from the ground.
Yeah, let's not tell people they can start at 10 o'clock. That's dangerous. that's a whole extra hour for them. Jesus Christ.
I think they have the world's smallest pub as well, somewhere further up as well, the signal box.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've not been there, but I'm aware of that place. Yeah,
you'll love it. It's brilliant. There's a lot of things that you can go on the light rail. It'll be like a football special, but for the borrowers.
Excellent news. And what do we think of results-wise, guys? What do we think? Are we expecting a nice ball draw, or are you confident, Alex, Mark? What are you feeling?
I think it's going to be quite hard. I have to confess, I don't know a great deal about the current Grimsby side. Obviously, I've seen some of their results, but I don't quite know how to forecast this one. But looking at our results so far, we've not scored many and not conceded many. Our defence has been fairly solid, but we struggled a bit up front, and we might be missing 1 or 2 forward players still. So I'm not expecting a high-scoring game. Maybe 1 all. I'll say tentatively.
Okay, and Alex?
Yeah, I'm pretty much mirrored for you guys. We've got no strikers. John McAtee was sold to Luton, immediately loaned back to us, which was brilliant. And then they went, that shoulder injury that's bugging him. Can we have a proper look at it? And he's out now till sort of January. Ryan Taylor is brilliant, but he's about 96 and sort of can't play a full game. We've got a guy from Luton now on loan as well, in addition to that, who's quite raw. But we're decent at set pieces. If anything gets on Waterfall's head in the box, you're doomed. But we're playing some neat stuff, and it's sort of the Leyton Orient game was a real test of character to show how it was the first game of the season. Crewe we demolished, which was brilliant. We got lucky against Rochdale. They could have been 3-4-0 up after the first sort of 30 minutes, but then sort of took it with Waterfall header at the end. It will be nice. I imagine it'll be a big crowd. And so I think there'll be quite a bit of expectation that we go out there. And I would imagine there'll be all these sort of no disrespects to the likes of Sutton, as you all love to hear, because we usually have it thrown at us. And then we'll all be walking off wondering how we lost 2-0 and we're played off the park. Yeah, I would imagine it'll be. I'd like to think we'll go out there and give it our all. They seem to be really gelling, and the midfield is really tough to get through. So if you can get behind our defence, so if you've got a fast guy up front or on the wings, you've got an opportunity. The left is a little bit more vulnerable than the right, though. Fete, who used to play for Wealdstone on the right, does get a little bit lost. He does like to run up and is a pretty good attacking right back, but then we realise we've got no one back to defend. So that's usually a good opportunity. But I mean, we've lost a league game out of it, so we haven't really seen much more other than that. But you got to play for the full 90 because we go for it all. We if it's still 0-0 with 93 minutes gone, we could still win that thing because that seems to be how we score nowadays.
Yeah, same as us as well, actually.
Oh god, so it'll be 0-0, then it'll end 4-4.
Yeah, it'll be. We were 1-0 up against Doncaster in 90th minute, and then we decided that, do you know what, this is too easy, and we let them score twice. And then another time we'll score twice in the last minute or two. So yeah, never leave our games early.
Yeah, same. So it'll still be rammed.
It's going to be 0-0. Gents, thank you very much for your time. I will tag you into it on Twitter so everyone can see your handle and look for your sliding water tackle that you mentioned earlier
amazing.
on.
It is so beautiful.
It's going to be the kind of thing we're going to really love. Thank you all for listening. There is another interview just coming up now, because if anyone can't make the Grimsby match, there is Sutton ladies playing at home on Sunday, 2:00 kickoff. It's against Fulham, and it's first match of the season. It's free entry, so please come along to it. It'll be a bit of a laugh. There is an interview coming up with Fred just now, where I struggle to work out whether it's a free entry or not. And amazingly, they did all the social medias as I was talking to Fred, so I sound very confused, not sure, but it is free entry. Take care, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.